As CEO of Hepatitis Victoria, Melanie Eagle brings a distinguished background covering policy and unions, law, the Departments of Justice and Planning, as well as being the former Mayor of St Kilda. Her focused approach has grown the organisation as it navigates the social stigmas of hepatitis.
So I'd found that I loved shaping and driving. So I think being a CEO in a context where there is change, so there's development in treatments, greater recognition in the policy and strategy space, it's really an exciting context in which to work, but you can work with a team of people to achieve that. There is a real sense of collaboration towards driving change, and then you can play quite a dynamic role within that. So this is an organisation, Hepatitis Victoria, dealing with a chronic health condition. I happen to have one myself personally, so I live with epilepsy. I know what it's like to be dependent on medicines morning and night. But I do understand, say, legal frameworks, because I have a legal background. I do understand the value of working well with people who might be marginalised and the importance of that through having a social work background and having roles in a governance sense with other marginalised groups.
I gather it's a 2030 vision for HepVic to eradicate.
So the organisation just has the 5-year strategic plan, I guess, but we work within a context where the state government has the 2030 vision around elimination of hepatitis B and C. The federal government also has a strategic framework which is similar, and so does the World Health Organization. The new treatments that we wanted to have readily available, 95 to 98% cure rates, through advocacy, really, they became available. And they have been since 2016, and we've had, about 20% of people in Australia with hepatitis C cured. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
In terms of our organisation, I'm very pleased with how we're progressing and the offering that we're making within that space.
Yep.
In terms of whether Australia is on track to achieve elimination, that's quite contested. It's a very live topic at the moment.
What do you do around driving culture within your team?
Demonstrating positive action yourself that people might be encouraged to follow, keeping people enthused and recognising the value of their contribution, celebrating innovation, of which we have heaps amongst the staff, so creating an environment where coming up with ideas and trying things out is positive. We're never going to be flush with being able to recognise things through a financial means, so we'll try to do what we can in other ways through the esprit de corps, through the appreciation.
The recognition and so forth. Are there any aspects of comparisons between corporate or politics and not-for-profit that you think are underappreciated in the not-for-profit space?
The bureaucracy, we can malign the bureaucracy, but it's a brilliant way of actually distilling information to support decision making, for example, and I try to actually bring some of that in here.
Yep.
But then I don't want to bring some of the rigidity and the delays in decision making.
Sure.
So it's lovely to be able to say, yeah, sure, I approve that media release. We'll go and speak to them.
Without 7 layers of approval.
Exactly, and it would never happen.
What's your underlying solution to dealing with stigmas?
In fact, in the strategies, it's a kind of core underpinning things at the same time as aiming for the elimination of the condition in terms of prevalence. There's an equal weight being put on addressing stigma. However, there isn't a knowledge base around how to do that. There's no simple fix. So I think it's about the broad awareness, raising the open language. It's about bringing forward individuals who are prepared to talk about it and then share that story and make it something that's understood and acceptable to talk about. A lot of it's about dispelling myths. Interestingly, some of the communities who are very reluctant to talk about it are also very aware of the death. It's giving them the facts, normalising the situation and say, look, we can act on this.
If you were to receive $10 million in unrestricted funding tomorrow, what would be the first thing you'd spend on?
Possibly the broad awareness campaigns. I regret that we can't do the big TV ads or the big out there screen ads, and there are some examples of other countries where there's big signage. These are risk factors talk to your doctor. It's such a poorly understood condition, viral hepatitis, and there's no need for that to be the case. It should be like diabetes, it should be like so many other conditions. So let's normalise it, and I don't think we'll get quite to that level until we get some broad awareness raising, and that does actually take dollars. That means airspace.
And just to wrap up, what would you see beyond donations, for example, what would you see as a change in society specifically to support Hepatitis Victoria in Australia?
And there we get back to the stigma that you've raised. It's another condition. It's not like a broken arm necessarily that we'd respond with sympathy if we heard about that, and we'd be trying to help.
Yep.
The stigma stops people from responding in that open and supportive way, unfortunately.
Yep. Great. Thank you. That was all I had, but I really appreciate your time.
No, I appreciate yours. Good on you.
Yeah, cheers.